Call the meeting to order. Reminder of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest at the proper time. Does anybody have disclosure? No. Can I get approval for the minutes from the previous meeting? Dave Do, seconder, Rob. Application number B-09-25 and A-09-25. Take notice that applications have been made by Francis Layton Farms Limited for consent, lot line adjustment, and a minor variance with respect to lands legally described as concession 4 south of Egremont Road, part of lot 5 and part of east half of lot 5. The subject lands are located north and the wrap around the property municipality known as 6556 Confederation Line in the township of Warwick. Take further notice that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Warwick is appointed Friday, March 13th, 2026 at 8:15 a.m. for the purpose of the public hearing into this matter. Can I ask the secretary to give the dates and times of the notice?
They were posted February 10th.
Thank you. Has there been any submissions opposing or agreeing with the application?
No.
Thank you. I will now ask Johan to give his report.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, respected committee members, applicants, and the viewing public. I'll be presenting two related applications together. So B-09-25, which is the lot line adjustment, and the second one is a minor variance to permit the lot line adjustment application. I'll just wait for the presentation to load. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so this property doesn't have a 911 address. It has a legal address. So the legal description is concession 4 south of Egremont Road, part of lot 5, being east half of lot 5 in the township of Warwick. It's the property with the yellow outline that's wrapping around 6556 Confederation Line. There's another property that has a yellow outline to the northeast that is also related to this application, which I'll explain shortly. The zoning of the property is A1, so that's an agricultural zone. And there is a drain that runs through the property. And surrounding the drain, there's hazard land and there's woodlot as well. And this is the reason for the lot line adjustment. So because of the woodlot and the hazard land, and because of the drain, access to the northern portion of the agricultural lands of the property is quite hard to get to. And it would be much easier farmed by the farmer to the northeast. So that's what this application is for. The application is proposing to sever off the lands north of the drain from the subject lands and merge it with the property to the northeast. Next slide, please. This is a picture of 6556 Confederation Line. The subject lands wraps around this property. Next slide, please. This is a picture of the subject lands. I couldn't get a picture of the drain. It's not easy to get to. Next slide, please. This is the proposal. So the retained lot is south of the drain. The portion north of the drain would be severed and merged with the property to the northeast. From a planning perspective, this is actually beneficial because It's difficult for the farmer to get to the north portion of the property. Also, drain crossings would disrupt the drain and it would disrupt the woodlot as well. So from a planning perspective, this proposal is quite beneficial. So that's the lot line adjustment side. So from the minor variance side, because of the severance, it would reduce the subject lands area below the 38 hectares that's required for retained parcels, agricultural parcels that should be 38 hectares based on planning policy. Because it's going below the 38 hectares, the minor variance is required. To assess a minor variance, the Planning Act has 4 tests of a minor variance. Is it minor? Is it desirable for the property? Does it meet the intent of the official plan, and does it meet the intent of the zoning bylaw? And it is planning's staff's opinion that it does all of this. It's quite beneficial for the property, and the impact is minor because the land is already fragmented by the drain itself. And having the top portion of the property merge with the northeast parcel, it's easier access for the other farmer to farm the land. So it increases the efficiency of farming operations, and it will reduce the impact on the woodlot and the drain itself. Next slide, please. So with this, because there's 2 applications, there's 2 decisions that'll come out of this. Planning staff recommends for the minor variance that the Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application. And for the lot line adjustment, planning staff recommends that the Committee of Adjustment approve it with the recommended conditions. So I'll read out what the conditions are for the consent. So there are 6 conditions. The first 3 conditions are standard conditions for consent. And the last 3 conditions are standard conditions for a consent that is involving the merging of lands. So the first condition is that a copy of the deed and reference plan be submitted to this Secretary Treasurer. That's a standard condition. The next is that all conditions be fulfilled within 2 years. So that's the time period we have to deal with the conditions. The third condition is that applicants enter into an agreement with the Township of Warwick for the apportionment of drainage assessments. That's also a standard condition. The fourth condition is regarding the merging of lands, so that the severed lands north of Brown Jerry Drain be amalgamated with the property legally known as part of Lot 6, Concession 3 and 4, south of Egremont Road, designated as Part 2 on the R plan. So that was the parcel that we saw to the northeast, and be registered in the same name and interest to which they are added. The next condition, that the transfer documents for the severed lands be stamped with the stipulating, so that's the merging certificate of consent, because normal consents have a different stamp. And the last one is that the applicant's solicitor confirm that the receiving lands are capable of accepting the lot additions to ensure proper legal merger. If the receiving lot was created by a prior consent for which an unstipulated, so a regular certificate of consent, so a regular stamp was used, the applicant shall apply to the Committee of Adjustment for a certificate of cancellation of their original consent prior to registration. So all that is so that the parcel north of the drain that's being severed off, if it doesn't merge for whatever reason, if there was a previous consent on the parcel that it's trying to merge with, then that previous consent will need to be undone so that it can actually merge. That's basically what it's saying. With that, I end my presentation and I open myself to any questions.
Thank you, Johan. Francis, do you have any comments you want to make? No? Okay. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions? Seeing none. Any questions from the committee? I hereby close this meeting and we'll look for a decision.
I make a motion, we approve the application with the attached conditions.
Seconder. All those in favor? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Move on to the next one. Please take notice, application number B 8 25. Take notice an application has been made by Terry and Lori Westlake for consent severance with respect to lands described as part of Lot 2, Concession 6, south of Egremont Road, Township of Warwick, being parts 3 and 4 on registered plan 25R 2238, municipally known as 6224 Churchill Line. And take further notice that the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Warwick is appointed Friday, March 13th, 2026 at 8:15 for the purpose of the public hearing in this matter. Can I have the dates and times of the notice?
Notices were posted on the property and through mail on February 10th.
Do you have any opposing or non-opposing letters?
No, we do not.
Thank you. I'll now have Johan do his report.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone as well, again. Next slide, please. So this site is located at 6224 Churchill Line. It's the L-shaped sign that's highlighted. L-shaped site that's highlighted. A bit of a history on the site. So the vertical portion of that L shape was a separate lot in the past, and the portion to the west, that leg of that L shape, was a separate site as well. What the applicant is proposing to do is to sever back to a historical configuration of how the sites were separate. So the site is located at 6224 Churchill Line, and the zoning of the site is, it has a site-specific zoning that's A1-3. So what that basically is it permits all the uses of the A1 zone, and the 3 is basically, it permits an existing truck terminal as well. The other zones on the site is, there's a drain that runs through the property, so there's a hazard lands designation around the drain. And there's a considerable portion of the property that is hazard land and woodlot as well, protected woodlot. Next slide, please. This is a picture from the road of 6224 Churchill Line, so you can see the existing house. Next slide, please. So this is a picture of the portion that, so if you look in the front, that's the fenced off portion. That's the portion that the applicant is proposing to sever off. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed severance. So what's being proposed is basically what was mentioned before, that it's to sever the lot, so to go to how it was historically. Historically, we had very different planning regulations that allowed small lots for residential to be severed off. For a severance to occur, now it has to meet the current planning policy. And unfortunately, the current planning policy doesn't allow rural residential severances outside of a surplus farm dwelling severance, which this doesn't meet. Next slide, please. So it is staff's recommendation that the Township of Warwick Committee of Adjustment refuse the severance application. I would also add that planning staff has prepared conditions in case committee deliberates and wants to approve this application as well. With that, I open myself to any questions you may have.
Thank you, Johan. Terry or Lori, do you have any comments you want to make?
Yes.
Could you just go to the chair and push the mic, because we are on YouTube, so just push it.
Good morning, and thank you for the members of the committee for taking your time today with us. My name is Terry Westlake, and my wife Lori. We are the owners at 6224 Churchill Line. And so we're requesting a consent, as Johan said, to sever our approximate 13-acre property into 2 parcels, back to a 3-acre parcel and a 10-acre parcel. And that, as Johan mentioned, reflects the historical configuration of the property prior to consolidation. We understand, obviously, that the planning report does recommend refusal, primarily due to the agricultural land policies and minimum parcel size requirements. However, we respectfully submit that the circumstances of our property is somewhat unique and that the proposed severance would not negatively impact agricultural land in the area and would return the parcels to the original historical configuration. So as mentioned, our property is approximately 5.38 hectares, which is about 13 acres in total. It is already significantly smaller than the 38-hectare parcel size, which is referenced in the official plan for viable farm parcels. So because of this, the land does not function as a viable agricultural parcel today, and it's not likely to become one in the future. Severing the property into two smaller parcels would therefore not remove any productive farmland from agricultural use or fragment any active farming operation. In addition, a significant portion of the retained parcel consists of natural heritage features, including the woodlot and a water course. So approximately 6 acres of the retained land are regulated by the St. Clair Conservation Authority and are permanently protected woodland, which further limits any agricultural potential in the future. Importantly, also, the St. Clair Regional Conservation Authority has reviewed the application and indicated they have no concerns with the proposed consent. With respect to the servicing, we recognize the existing septic system servicing our home was installed in 1981, and it doesn't meet the current code, the current building code standards. However, it was legally installed at the time and has functioned properly for over 40 years without any reported issues. We've already consulted with a septic designer, and we're fully prepared to work with the county and obtain any necessary permits to bring the system into compliance if that's required. Our goal with this application is not speculative development. We're simply trying to restore the property the way it was originally planned as the two parts, and this does not negatively affect agriculture or the neighboring properties. We'd also like the committee to be aware that the neighboring property owners have expressed support for this application. I have letters of that with me I can provide you. Yeah, I brought those today. Given that the property is already a small rural parcel with significant environmental constraints and limited agricultural capability, we respectfully believe that approving this consent would not undermine the intent of the agricultural policies. So for these reasons, we respectfully ask the committee to consider approving our severance application. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Johan?
Thank you, Chair. Beyond what Terry mentioned, there's actually two more considerations. One is, so in the agriculture area, there's two main policy justifications to sever a lot. One is an agricultural severance. So you have a 200-acre parcel, you can split that into two 100-acre parcels, as long as any of the retained parcels can't be less than 38 hectares. This doesn't meet that criteria. The other criteria is a surplus farm dwelling severance. And this doesn't meet that criteria either. So one of the biggest reasons, basically, there isn't policy justification in any of our planning documents that allow this severance, basically from a policy standpoint. The other reason is, so if the lot is severed, that would create a new rural residential lot. Somebody could put a house there. And that's another MDS constraint on livestock facilities in the surrounding area. I've already dealt with quite a few farmers recently, especially with hog barns that have been having quite a hard time putting barns because of all the residential that's actually coming up in the ag area. With that, I end my comments.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the audience have any questions or comments? No, seeing none. Anybody from the committee have any questions?
For Johan, you mentioned if we did approve it, there's conditions that, can we know what those are? Thank you.
To the chair, yes. So there's 7 recommended conditions. The first 3 are standard conditions of consent. So the first one's basically that a deed and reference plan be submitted. The second one is that a $250 fee be paid to the Township of Warwick. So that's basically a stamping deed fee that's already paid. The third is that all conditions be fulfilled within 2 years. And then the fourth condition is regarding drain apportionment. So these 4 are standard conditions. The next 3 are conditions that come out of comments made by agency staff. So the first is sorry, so this will be the fifth condition, that the road authority confirm that each resulting parcel has an adequate independent site access to the satisfaction of the township and that any required entrance permits be obtained at the applicant's expense. One thing to mention is, on the lot to be severed, that's being proposed to be severed, there is an access from Forest Road that runs to the other portion of the property. So if it's severed, it would be an access that runs through another property, right? So either that needs to be made an independent access, so that can't run to the other side of the property. It should just be an access to that property itself, the severed lands. Or if they want to run it all the way across, then an easement needs to be achieved. They need to get an easement between property owners, basically a legal agreement. The next two conditions is regarding septic, which Terry already mentioned, that the owner obtain a septic permit from the building department for the installation of a new on-site sewage system designed in accordance with the Ontario Building Code. And the last one is that a new on-site sewage system be installed and the existing sewage system be properly decommissioned if required to the satisfaction of the building department prior to the stamping of the deed. So those are the conditions that's recommended.
Again, a question for you. So this is a livestock buildings on this property, correct? Like for horses? Is there like any concern on like how many units and MDS, you know? Yeah, that my concern is how much livestock on this. We left 10 acres.
Sorry, that there's livestock on the property, and then if there's any MDS concerns regarding that.
Or doing a neutral management plan going forward if there's more than 5 units on that property that can go right.
So is the concern regarding the severance? Is it pertaining to the severance? Can the severance occur because you're creating a new lot? Regarding that, a surplus farm building severance, for example, needs an MDS calculation because that's required in our county official plan. But that's for a surplus farm building severance. For this scenario, an MDS calculation is not required.
Any other questions?
And the driveway off of Forest Road, will it be separated from the existing lot? Like I can understand that you use that driveway, but it becomes part of the severed lot. And it becomes part of a right of way or whatever, how somebody else moves in.
To the chair, that's a great question. It's quite similar to what I was saying before. We can have an access going through somebody else's property unless the owner gets a legal agreement for an easement to give them the right to actually use that as a separate access, basically. But ideally, what we would like to see happen is if the severance does go forward, that there's independent access to each property, and then that connection be terminated, basically, so that it doesn't access the other property.
Any other questions from the committee? I'd just like to make a statement. I understand the MDS calculations if this was a severed property, but in my eyes, there's already houses along that Forest Road, and if anybody were to build a barn across the road at some point, I don't think it'll be Pete, but you know, the distance calculations would not change or be affected if this lot were to be approved, is what my comment is. On.
A quick comment to that. When we do an MDS calculation, somebody's putting a livestock barn, it's not so it's from the livestock occupied area of the barn, the separated distance, to the basically the dwelling area of the house. So it's not to the lot. So if this lot is severed off and a house is put there, it's actually quite closer. Depending on if it's across the road or on the other side of the property, this house is actually quite closer than the other houses that's existing there. Just thought I would like to highlight that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from anybody else? No? We'll close this portion of the meeting and ask the committee for a decision.
I'll move that we accept the separation as is along with the conditions, especially concerning that driveway. That there is that proper agreement made and that there is a separation there, plus whatever Joanne has already put forward.
So I'll second that.
All those in favor? Motion carried. Decision is final now and it'll be 20 days become valid. Thank you for coming. Meeting adjourned. Committee, don't leave. We got to sign paperwork.